right. That's enough of that. Hello. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of... Tonight's really, actually. So, normally, Krett and I are doing our thing together as a unit, as a team, as friends, as people on the same squad, roster. Shit, I think I'm out. Anyway, usually it's Krett and I here, but it's just me tonight. Krett's still stuck at work, so there's that. Talk about the SPL drinking game. I've never heard of anything like that. That sounds pretty lame. But we've got a number of things coming out. WESA is how I initially was pronouncing it, but now when I say WESA, I just really feel like Jar Jar Binks, so I don't know if I'm going to continue down that path. That's out. That's a thing. That's interesting. That's going on the larger world of esports. I'm not sure how involved that will be as far as the SPL is concerned. I'm not sure what will happen in that regard, but that's coming out. As far as the SPL is concerned, we've got one team that is clinched, and they will head their way to DreamHack guaranteed. 5 other teams still hang on the balance. I think Europe is a little bit more set in stone than North America, but even with that, set in stone is probably the wrong term. Europe's a little less competitive. I don't know about less competitive. There are less teams involved in the nonsense going on in Europe, is probably the best way to really phrase that. North America, it feels like everybody save 2 teams can compete. So, yeah, it really has been moved to a Monday because it's better for Krett's schedule. Unfortunately, better does not mean ideal. And Krett is not available here this Monday, which is a thing. So, there's that. I don't know. Oh, well. Oh, and people are talking about this dude named Low Tier God. Seems like he's doing the right thing. This guy right now, Low Tier God. This is a fun way to start this out here. You didn't know I had a Twitch. I stream almost every night, Wasted Assassin. All right. Let's take a look. Oh wait, I got this little cowlick going on. See, that's the beauty of wearing a headset. I can usually hide. All right, it looks fixed. It looks fixed in that regard. Deer Haunter. So, all right, let's start off the night with this SPL drinking game because why not? Why not? What the hell else do we have going on? So, this works best if you have someone to play with. I mean, that is most games. With very few exceptions, is a game better if you don't get the opportunity to play with friends. And honestly, even if it's a solo game, even if it's a single game, like a solo person game, that probably benefits from playing with somebody else. So there's that. Yeah, Mystic. No, today was a little rough. I've been a little sick the past couple of days, which kind of sucks, but oh well. Oh well. Anyway, so this SPL drinking game, shall we see? So, your team, you pick a team, right? And you drink 3 drinks if your solo or support dies, 2 if your juggler dies, mid or carry die, 1 drink, ticket sour, 2 drinks. I mean, you are getting far too intoxicated for me to really advocate this. This is an intense situation. Nice car keys. Oh yeah. These are my car keys. This is my wallet. This is my GG button. That shit is still funny. That's off camera, so I don't have to talk about that. But so, yeah. A drinking game, probably pushing it. Coloring book is really good. Chance the Rapper put out an album. Shout out to Chance the Rapper. I'm a big fan of his. Drelo. That's all I have to say about that. Denial played today. The game was absolutely incredible. I mean, I don't believe in spoilers. I think like with respect to sports and stuff, like you watch it live or you don't watch it. Or you watch it later on knowing the outcome. Denial LG was really good. Denial 2-0'd, except they didn't, so they split down the middle. And that sounds really like a John Maddenism. But if you actually watch the games, you'll completely understand. So, today's matches were pretty fun, at least on the North American side. So I wanted to start. I wanted to start the night off with a quick conversation. What do you mean baited? How did I get baited, Zuri? So I want to start a quick conversation with something because it's like super duper hot and it's so simple, right? There's this guy out there, low tier god. He's a member of the FGC. His whole gimmick is that he plays gods characters. It's funny, gods. His whole gimmick is that he doesn't play like high tier characters. I'm pretty comfortable, Noodle. But with that said, I just walked in the door, like quite literally. There can be dogs if you bring them up, Luna. It's up to you. But so low tier god, my man, he's out there streaming. He's out there doing the stream thing, right? He's trying to make it happen, and he's got a thing. So low tier god posted. Everybody on the planet is going ahead and reposted this thingamajig. But low tier god Twitter. I gotta find this dude. Here he is. All right. So this is my man's. Well, it's not my friend, but is a guy. He's from California. He's a member of the. Is a fighting game player. You can catch him out there doing this. And like I said, he plays a lot of low tier characters. So this is what's going on right now. Where are we? He posted this earlier today. Did he take it down? Oh, I really hope he didn't, because I was gonna support him on this. Here it is. No, that's the Twitter response. No. Oh my God, he got rid of it. Look, that's a shame. That's a shame. But in any event, he was out there and he was just like, hey, I'm going to stream if I get money, right? I'll keep streaming at $20. I'll go ahead and put a face cam on or whatever. And that's just him doing the hustle. And everybody thought it was this most ridiculous thing on the planet. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I don't know. I think if you think that there's a problem with that, I'm kind of questioning other things, I don't know. I think it's just one man trying to make his due. I respect that a lot. WESA, big thing in esports. This is actually this is something interesting to talk about. This is, like I said, much larger than the world of Smite, much larger than the world of some one streamer that's deciding to make money one way or another. WESA is the World Esports Association, and it's pretty interesting because if you were here for really about 2 weeks ago, Krett and I were talking about the world of tournaments and how League of Legends, the League of Legends rulings, right? That was our show after the LCS put out there 3 teams that were in trouble or whatever. And me and Krett, we were talking, and I basically pitched WESA, right? I said, hey, there needs to be an organization independent of both the teams and the leagues and all of that nonsense, and they need to go ahead and they should dictate right and wrong. And I understand how open this is to failure. This could be a terrible situation. It could just be a complete monarchy, right? Straight up. I mean, it could be a monarchy. Daddy could pass it on to his son, but it could totally be complete tyranny, and the contracts have to be done with that in mind. I'm thinking short and whatever. I basically pitched, we spitballed the idea of an independent organization that would vet players, leagues, etc. into, is this going to be a successful, is this a good idea, right? So WESA then comes in out a week or two after that, right? Not trying to say that this idea was taken from me or anything, because something like this goes ahead and this is a year plus in the making. These things don't just happen overnight. Also, dogs are all. Shouts to Luna Little. But so what I am saying is that, all right, sweet. So I'm not completely crazy for thinking on this path. Some other people are thinking on this path. This makes sense. Okay. So if you guys don't know, the World Esports Association, they went ahead and they announced the founding of it. And this is supposed to be a system that in general, enhances the world of esports and esports employees. whether they're teams, whether they're players, specifically to just, quote, bring much needed structure, predictable schedules, and transparency to the scene. They want to bring together all esports stakeholders, players, teams, organizers, and broadcasters. So right there, you're thinking the teams, right? Like Fnatic, etc. And then the players that play on those teams, organizers, which are people that set open the tournaments for League of Legends and Smite. It's their own developers. But for a game, say like Counter-Strike, it's much more open-ended. You've got Faceit, you've got ESL, you've got EA, you've got MLG, you've got a number of different organizations that put on tournaments. That's what TOs are, or organizers. And then broadcasters. Those are the people, I imagine, those are the people like ESL. Those are the people like Beyond the Summit those are the broadcasters, the broadcasting units. It could also mean highbrow, like not highbrow, but high level, like Twitch. I don't know about that one. So, Gamana says, I don't understand how WESA could be a thing. How can you look into the best interest of a player, organization, and league? Each should have their own organization. I mean, I understand where it comes from, and I think that one organization, as long as they're unbiased and separate, can have all of those people in mind, and the effort is to just balance it out accordingly. I mean, at the end of the day, if each individual has their own union, which makes a lot of sense, even in addition to this, right? If players have a union, teams have a union, organizations have a union, and broadcasters have a union, those heads of union are going to meet up, and guess what? That's going to be WESA, right? So, like, it's the idea. That's the idea. Why do I like Donkey Kong so much? I'm more of a King Kong fan myself. So I don't think that the idea of WESA really representing everybody is far-fetched. Scratch that. I don't think it's impossible. Let's put it that way. How can there be one organization for multiple games across esports? The requirements vary from game to game and are completely different. Each game should have their own player team organizations. So that becomes much more problematic because then the type of activity that organizations or player unions or whatever, some sort of governing body or representative body, the whole purpose of these is to root out some of the more problematic practices in esports. Whether it's the people being underpaid, whether it's, people not paying attention to contracts, whatever. That's the goal of all this structure with esports and with WESA and with any other step forward that teams go ahead and make or people go ahead and make to try to legitimize or put a structure or create infrastructure for the world of esports. It's all in the effort to rid out the unscrupulous activity that some people, some teams, some players take part in, right? And so if you go ahead and you have a different organization for every individual game, what's going to happen then is those unscrupulous people are going to be chased out of the big money tournaments, but there's still money to be made in smaller esports. And there's a nice little happy point where esports are large enough to make money to attract these people that are predatory, but not big enough to really warrant an organization like that. So I think that's a little bit rough. Whoops, I was muted, sorry. As we go on, there are a number of teams that will be a part of WESA. As I said, WESA will look to represent players, teams, organizations, and broadcasters in order to, like I said, quote, they will bring them to the discussion table in order to bring much needed structure, predictable schedules, and transparency to the scene. Essentially, what WESA wants to do is they want to make sure that there's a season with a well, I don't know. Maybe I'm overstepping my bounds. But basically, the way I read this is that predictable schedules. There wants to be an agreed upon esports season, or at least a season rotating for the different games, so that if there's different games involved, right? If WESA plans on in overseeing different games instead of just one, since this seems to be majority Counter-Strike focused, now you can hopefully work out a situation where your seasons overlap as little as possible, right? I can watch baseball and I can watch basketball because by the time baseball starts, basketball is almost in the playoffs and it's almost over, right? And you can watch different stuff like that. Meanwhile, if my League of Legends is interfering with my Counter-Strike, that might be a problem. So there's that. right? So that's one idea. Predictable schedules, which is positive for all. I don't really see it as a bad situation. Structure, I mean, that's open-ended. Transparency, again, that's open-ended as well. A bunch of teams were initially invited. Fnatic, Navi, Envy, Virtus Pro, G2, FaZe, Mouse Sports, Ninjas in Pajamas, NIP. Some of these teams have a lot of dough. Some of these teams seem like they have a lot of dough. Some of these teams are broke AF. And, like, I mean, okay, sure. There are reasons for everybody to come in. I think that for the teams that are initially putting their first step forward, this is a shot at all of these teams have something to lose, but won't lose if this is a poor choice. I don't think that any of these teams will have WESA really reflect on them. If it winds up being a negative and a failure, I don't think anybody's going to go, oh, Envious is a bad team because they bought into WESA. Like, I don't think anybody's looking at the teams in that regard. So, I don't know. I don't think this is, I'm like, as far as the teams that are included, a lot of people are asking about Astralis, right? It's a player-owned team. That's kind of fishy that they're not in there or whatnot. There's a lot of situations that I think are a little bit more like, I don't know all the details, so I can't really comment on that. As opposed to things where it's a little bit more cut and dry. One of the guys from MLG, one of the higher up guys at MLG, he goes ahead and he just tweets out, hey, WESA has never contacted us whatsoever about this situation. And that's a little bit more problematic to me. There's a number of reasons why teams might not be involved initially, and at the end of the day, teams can be involved later on after the fact, and this, that, and the third. But I think when it comes down to platforms like MLG not being even notified, not given the chance, that's very interesting to me, to say the least. This opening, WESA, is very closely related to ESL. ESL and WESA are owned by the same parent company, Turtle Entertainment. And I mean, like, I don't think there's this big Illuminati bullshit. Excuse me. I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, I mean, it's all a secret play to Da Vinci Code the esports industry, and they're going to come out and make some big Game of Thrones power move. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of people are getting a little bit more scared or just trepidatious about the whole situation in general. But I am a little bit interested, and I'm curious, and I think it's a bad look in general for WESA to be started by a company that has a vested interest in one broadcaster, and then another broadcaster who is also very large and has a lot of clout and just held a recent major in Counter-Strike. I think it's very interesting, to say the least, about the fact that it's not going to be approached. That's kind of strange to me. That's kind of strange to me. No, that's incorrect, Beanie. I've been doing this for 3 years. That's how I got my sub button. But I think that's very strange to me, in that ESL or whatever, they have a vested interest, and I don't even have a problem with somebody tangentially related to ESL running WESA or necessarily being a part of WESA. In fact, like, that seems fishy, that seems strange, but in the real world, what you do is you activate people that have been proven to be successful in one area of an industry and go ahead and take on the other avenue of the industry. I think that's weird, but kind of how government works, honestly, a lot of the time. And it's not perfect. I get that. There's a lot of room for failure. I get that. But by default, that alone doesn't really bother me. It doesn't really, like, actually destroy me. So, when it comes down to it, it's really just we got to see what happens. There's a lot of landmines, and I think the guys at... What I'm saying is that ESL are smarter than putting themselves in a position that's going to be terrible. And if they do what everybody is thinking they're going to do and lock everything off to ESL or whatnot and make these teams like worst case scenario situation, I just don't think that's going to happen. ESL is a smart company with a lot of smart people involved, at least from my experience. And it's too easy. There is no 6 degrees of separation like Kevin Bacon. It's like very obviously, Turtle Entertainment, ESL. I think it's too obvious for, like, I'm not taking the bait. I think it's too obvious for this to, like, be that silly of a situation, if that makes any sense. So, do I have any input on if the WESA thing grows and continues to push? How does SPL on higher eds get approached by them? I mean, so far we haven't really like even seen what the impact of that would be. I mean, WESA says that it hopes to bring structure, predictable schedules, and transparency to the scene, right? You've got a number of people out here. Get Right is talking. It's an incredibly exciting time to be a part of the esports industry, and its rapid growth in just a few years have made it very clear there's growing and more pressing need to structurize it, both on the TO's side as well as the player side. WESA will offer us a platform to do just that, organize our work and careers, build a network of safety, and offer a solution to business and legal disputes. So now WESA sounds like a situation where there's going to be structure to the tournament structure so that players aren't flying all around the world at all points in time, or at least not terribly, with some much needed break time, etc. There's going to be a network of safety, so like anything from health hazards to insurance, right? And offer a solution to business and legal disputes. So there's going to be some sort of representation. So now there's a lot of players union type deals going on. So as far as like WESA at the moment, this seems to just be ESL Pro League for CSGO will become the first professional esports competition to adopt said WESA regulations. And those regulations haven't really been spoken about just yet, but it's basically an intention to standardize things, bring them up a little bit, etc. One of the milestones, this is quoting from the article, one of the milestones of WESA is the creation of an operative player council elected by the players which will represent, strengthen, and advocate on behalf of pro gamers on a number of important topics, such as league policies, rule sets, player transfers, and more. The aim is to empower players when it comes to influencing decision-making in tournaments operated under WESA regulations. And then ESL Pro League for CSGO will be the first one enforced. So essentially, what I get from this is that there's going to be tournaments held, and WESA can put their little gold star in it. And if their everything with a gold star, with a WESA gold star, their teams, the people that have applied to be a part of this, will be allowed to go to. So Fnatic, in the future, you can assume that WESA will have gold stars on certain tournaments, and those are the ones that Fnatic, Navi, Envy, Virtus.pro, G2, FaZe, Mousesports, and NiP can go to as far as the Counter-Strike world is concerned. When it comes to developer-run leagues, that's a little bit more interesting because those are usually exclusive. The SPL is the only Smite league. There are community leagues, but the SPL is the only one that's like money-wise. And then you've got the LCS, obviously. Developer-run leagues are a little bit different than the Wild West that Counter-Strike is at the moment, and even to a lesser extent, the fighting game scene, although you've got Capcom Pro Tour doing their thing as well. Counter-Strike is pretty much just like, do you have money in a setup? You can run a Counter-Strike tournament. The teams will come to play over six figures, and you just have to make sure that, like, nobody gets shot. It's very much just like, yo, we got a $600,000 tournament. Who's coming? We'll send out invites. If you're dope, let us know, and then you're coming, right? Like, that's the deal right now. There's no league. I mean, there's ESL Pro League and stuff like that, but there's no, like, overarching league. People still watch ESCA. People still watch FaceIt. You've got E-League coming up in just a month or two, right? There's a number, or is that this month? That's this month. That's May. So, Twitch chat is talking about, again, there's this conversation about Astralis versus FaZe, right? Let's pretend I don't know anything about these teams. Let's type Astralis GG. And here's their Twitter. And let's go ahead and type FaZe Clan. Oh, I've heard of them. FaZe Up, right? Smoke vapes, right? FaZe Clan. Verified on Twitter. The world's largest professional gaming club. G Fuel, Scuff, FaZe Fitness, the FaZe Store. All right, so two of their sponsors are themselves. That's pretty dope. 1.25 million followers on Twitter. That sounds pretty dope. I'm just going to click on a random YouTube link. FaZe Clan, 3.6 million followers or subscribers. Okay. Let's go ahead and click Astralis. All right. Okay, sweet. We are Astralis to the stars, the home of these five dudes. Okay. Oh, I've heard of Dupree. That's cool. Honestly, you've probably heard of all of these guys. But 43.4K Twitter followers. All right, that's pretty sweet. Let's go ahead and click on their website, Astralis.gg. Instagram, YouTube. So Instagram, they got 17K. That's dope. On Twitter, 24, or YouTube, 24K. Their website actually looks pretty sick. It's a dope website. I like this guy. So you can go here and you can find out what they're playing. All right. Okay. It's about the footprint, folks. It's about the footprint. 4.3.4K to FaZe Clan's 1.25 mil. And as this goes on, I imagine, so like also forget about who's being invited and who's this and who's that. Really what it comes down to is the conversation about how easy it is to create an organization like this with minimal amounts and then to add on. Right? So what you have here is a nice mix of teams. You've got some teams with money, right? You look at a team like Envy, they're pretty well off, right? A team like Fnatic, who seems well off, but Thorin has hinted otherwise. Na'Vi is well off. And then some of these teams, not so rich, right? Mouse Sports, pretty new. You've got FaZe, which is a team that's largely outside of Counter-Strike, right? So forget about being good at the game. That is a separate conversation than front office business type stuff. That just has nothing to do with the conversation, for better or for worse. When it comes to the business side of sports, or esports in this conversation, that's just not the same idea. Okay? Remember that the majority of followers are COD people. Exactly. So the idea of WESA right now, the first league, it's worded very carefully. There's no mention of Counter-Strike at all until the specificity of the single current tournament or professional esports competition. It's all speaking about in tournament organizer, tournaments, etc. Very wide-spreading rules. As such, the ESL Pro League for CSGO will become the first esports competition to adopt said WESA regulations. So they say esports competition again. So it's completely not about this in the future. Hopefully, in WESA's eyes, will include more than one game. That's the way it's worded to me. That's why there's open-endedness. Otherwise, you would just focus and say Counter-Strike a lot. So the fact that it's open-ended is a sign that they're looking to spread their wings, right? We are looking to spread our wings. So what they do is they start off in Counter-Strike, since Counter-Strike is probably the game that could benefit from structure in their eyes the most. I actually agree. I do think that structure in the esports world is probably a good thing. But I'll leave my personal comments to the end. You've got 8 teams, it looks like. Fnatic, Na'Vi, Envy, Virtus, G2, FaZe, Mouse, and Ninja. So you've got 8 teams involved, right? And when it comes down to something like this, you're going to have a meeting with all these 8 people, and you're going to talk about it, and you're going to figure out, all right, what minimum wage is good? What temperature should the arenas be at? How long can we play together, right? As far as the player side of these conversations are going. And then you have the when can we trade players? What is poaching type shit, which goes on at the team level, right? And then maybe even marketing strategies and things like that they can do as a unit to further amplify their visible footprint. And then from the broadcaster platform, there's the, who gets the Super Bowl and who gets Evo and who gets the finals and who gets this major, who gets that major. That's what all the broadcasters are going to talk about, right? The more people that you add to these conversations, the more haphazard they tend to go. Whether it winds up, most of the time, the difference between 8 people and 16 people around a meeting table is simply the amount of time it takes to decide on the final decision. The 8 people will make the same decision with the same points in mind as the 16 people, but the extra 8 people just want to reiterate whatever 1 through 8 said. They want to hear themselves talk. They want to hear their own voice. When it comes to something like this, I mean, there's the people that are going to be like, we shouldn't pay our players at all, and those people are going to be laughed out. And then there are people that are saying, our players should make $500 million a year and a boat. And those people are laughed at as well. And then you've got the middle people, right, that are saying, hey, we should pay our players a little bit more. We should pay them a little bit less. Drug testing, no drug testing, right? There are definitely people that are going to disagree with the stuff in here. And that's all well and good. But 8 teams, 8 people to start off with is a strong number. You get a decent amount of people, and then, like I said, there's a mix of these different teams. FaZe is a gigantic organization that's rooted primarily outside of Counter-Strike. They're newer to the scene, so they have a unique look as to where how and where these teams act, or what it's like being the new guy in the rink. Then you've got NIP, who's very large as well. I mean, their Twitter following footprint, 197,000, right? So they are a tenth, if that. They are a very small team in juxtaposition of FaZe. But these guys are titans of the Counter-Strike scene. They can really talk about what it's like to be one of the longest running teams in Counter-Strike, to have always been a part of this. Envy is sort of in between. They're a bigger footprint than NIP, not quite as large as FaZe, but they've been involved in Counter-Strike long enough to be considered a player. At the end of the day, Envy is more rooted in console world. They have more to do with other games than Counter-Strike, but they're certainly not considered like wieners or newcomers when it comes to CS. Fnatic with 600,000 on Twitter and over 1 million on Facebook. I mean, this is one of the longest running organizations in esports. So now you've got a big look, right? So now you've got NIP, who are known for being fantastic at the game of Counter-Strike and very, very, like one of the titans of Counter-Strike, but insular. Outside of Counter-Strike, I mean, they're not that big of a name. They're a Counter-Strike name, but they know so much about the CS scene. Fnatic has been involved in Counter-Strike for a long, long time, but unlike NIP, has branched out. They do other games. Smite, haha, but they're also involved other places on the internet. They're involved other places in the esports world, and that's a big part of their outlook. They get to see the big, broad view, right? Envy has a decent-sized view, primarily focused on consoles, and Fnatic have a broad, probably a bigger view than Envy, primarily focused on PC. Shouts to Envy getting involved in LCS, like we see somebody in the chat say out. Man, I lost it, but somebody was very excited to see Envy. Yeah, Envy about to grow even bigger at that LCS spot for Greed. We'll see about that one. Mouse Sports, a little bit smaller. Mouse Sports, when we take a look at their Twitter, they've got 53, so they're about the same size as Astralis. But these guys aren't player owned. This is their own thingamajigger. You look at their Instagram and YouTube, still grinding. 3,000 followers on Mouse Sports Instagram and 6,000 followers on Mouse Sports YouTube. So Mouse Sports is probably one of the smaller organizations. So now you've got Fnatic with the long-time broad view. You've got Envy with the long-time broad console view. You've got Ninjas in Pajamas with the long-time Counter-Strike small scene view, and you've got Mouse Sports with the newer organization view. You've got a nice grip, different mix of people here, and so when you're coming into these conversations about schedules, Fnatic probably knows something a little bit more than Mouse Sports or even Envy in all of their times of console scene. And then Envy might know some things that Fnatic doesn't know, etc. So you've got a nice mix of people coming to the table. Right now, for starting the organization, when you need just a big group, right? You need like a big, not a group, but a book. You're writing the book. And later on, Mao's been an org forever in CS. They were big back in 1.6. So Mao's small, but very rooted in Counter-Strike, just like Ninjas in Pajamas. 1.5 sucks. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, 1.6 for life. But my point is, when you start an organization like this, you need to come at it with a big book of rules. Whether, they can always be adjusted later on. You can add, you can subtract, you can change, ratify, you fucking amend my mistake. But that's where I'm thinking in the world of government, right? So later on, you can adjust, you can adapt it, you can change some of the things if you made mistakes or maybe you just need to update, etc. But right now, you need to come out with a big chunk of information that has to do and represents your league as best as, or your esports association as best as possible. 8 people to do that with varying levels of experience, both in Counter-Strike and esports as a whole, on the console and the PC side. This is a nice mix of individuals that will hopefully benefit from putting their mind together. After these are done, after these are over, after everything is discussed, then you've got ninjas in pajamas, or then you can add on to this, right? Then you can invite the Astraluses. Then you can invite Team Solo Mid. Then you can invite Cloud9. Then you can invite these other teams, right? If these teams were already invited and they declined, that's probably a little bit more curious than anything else in this conversation. But at the moment, the reason that you limit to 8 is just because too many cooks in the kitchen is too annoying. It's very difficult to really deal with that sort of stuff. So I don't know about that. But so the idea of starting off with 8 teams, I actually really like it. You can go ahead and expand, but first you got to get the initial stuff written down. Okay? You got to go ahead and find the original stuff. You got to create the original writing in order to go ahead and really succeed that. So, Pietro Franguelli is a guy. And he's going to be sort of involved, well, not sort of, overseeing the work of the Player Council and the WESA, World Esports Association. Representatives will be the first interim league commissioner of WESA, Pietro Franguelli. So he's going to be the interim league commissioner, which is already interesting because they're using the word league. He is basically going to be the guy that is the final say. He's the commissioner. I mean, if you guys are familiar with traditional sports, he's the Adam Silver of the league with the NBA. He's the Bud Selig. He's the Roger Goodell, hopefully not. But in general, he's that's where the buck stops. He's the big cheese. He has, quote, a wealth of experience and expertise from his time as an advisor to some of the biggest traditional sports organizations around Europe. He had this to say about, joining in, and it's just general, gee, thank you for the job. I'm incredibly honored and excited to join the World Esports Association today, and I'm looking forward to bringing my years of experience from traditional sports into the world of electronic sports. The formation of WESA and the growth of the association in the coming years will be the critical performance indicators for the entire esports industry and a real game changer for its every stakeholder. Well said. I don't like electronic sports. I know that's what esports stands for. I think esports is very different from electronic sports, but who knows? This guy, I mean, he's cool, all well and good. He's got a wealth of knowledge from across traditional sports. Okay. A lot of people have beef with outsiders, and I think that's absolutely hilarious. I think that is beyond hilarious. The problem, having a problem with someone inherently because they're not involved in esports is very funny to me. Big companies, big corporations, big media outlets operate very well and usually with a top-end person that just goes from top-end position to top-end position. A lot of times the CEO doesn't really need to know what boots on the ground do, as opposed to being able to delegate somebody that knows that very, very well. When it comes to these types of things, organization is organization, whether it's baseball, basketball, Counter-Strike, dancers, right? Organizing an infrastructure around competition can be more translatable than not. Obviously, there are some things. Drug testing is probably a little bit more intense in the physical side of things than the esports side of things. But at the same time, anti-cheat is probably a little bit more heavy on the esports side of things than the physical world of sports side of things. So it's one of those situations where you just make sure that you have somebody that knows what they're doing. All right, when it comes down to league operations, I can do a pretty good job of, if I'm somebody that has a history in traditional sports, I can run a schedule real well. I can tell you how to set up concessions and stuff if you're looking into a physical location, like an arena, to hold your events. I have the knowledge or the Rolodex to go ahead and start those conversations. Oh, the NBA stadium, the NBA arena in your city, maybe we can have your esports tournament there. I can start that conversation, right? There's a lot of things that people outside of the world of esports have knowledge on or have the potential to do that people inside esports just don't, because of the lack of clout that esports has at the moment. In the future, that'll change, but right now, maybe a little bit less. And then forget that. In all honesty, I don't think you have an advantage coming from the world of sports. I don't think people are like, oh, you play baseball, not Halo, so you count more. Money talks. And at the end of the day, if you make it money, you can go ahead and rent out Madison Square Garden. Shouts to League of Legends. But my point is, the people that have been running these organizations, the people that have been doing the work for traditional sports, there is a lot of stuff that is a parallel. And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't have to be shot out of the sky. And just because they're not us, I mean, I think that's a very almost childish way of thinking. They're not from esports, so they can't possibly know how to work this. They can't possibly understand the world of Counter-Strike or whatnot. I think that's almost silly. That's ridiculous. I mean, I remember being 13 and being a Blink-182 fan with a purple it was probably orange around. No, it was green. With a green mohawk, 2 different colored socks on, holding my skateboard with the mall grip, and just walking down and complaining about, look at this poser. Look at this poser. Wearing a NoFX shirt. Look at this poser. He probably doesn't even have pump up the volume. Look at this poser. Like, that's how I feel about it. I know there's a really bad history of people coming from outside sports setting the scene back years. I understand that. But one of the biggest things was that people were able to be taken advantage of. I think the esports scene in general has matured. And, I mean, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? Like, it's funny. I make fun of that idiom. I make fun of the situation when Bush screwed up that idiom so often that I screw up the idiom naturally, which is kind of hilarious to me. But my point is, yes, bad things have happened in the past. I've had my heart broken. Does that mean I never date again? Nah, I will eventually meet the girl. And judging from that last breakup, I'm going to be smarter about it this time. I'm just going to be smarter about it. I'm going to learn from the past. If she tells me to run away from the cops because I'm in her ex-boyfriend's stolen car, you know what? We're probably not going to last. We're probably not going to get married. You know? You learn. So for esports fans, they got to realize that there are people that do this for a living, and nobody gets into business, runs $1 million corporation, and goes, gee, I'm not going to look at case study. I'm not going to look at what happened before. I'm not going to look at all the mistakes that were made in the past. Plus, esports is in a much different situation now than they used to be. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, no, Mystic. But when it comes down to it, the idea of so-and-so is not from the world of esports. How dare they come in and dictate my esports? That to me is just, that's a very childish attitude to take. Esports has been duped before, and like that's weird to say esports as a whole. That's like people have been tricked. Esports has been duped before. There have been numerous organizations that have been sold snake oil. A couple of teams that have bought a bridge I'm selling in New York. There are a couple of people that bought water when they were stuck in a well. But at the end of the day, I think the esports community is more intelligent, or at least more experienced than it used to be. And there's too much of a spotlight on this shit at the moment. I don't think that somebody could come in and just like drastically screw things up the way it's done in the past. Just because there's more, no. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know, Greedosity says something in chat, and it's that's more real than not. Don't touch my esports, you sports ballers with your nets and your goals. G Pizzle brings up the name Jason Lake. So I'm pretty new to the world of esports. Full background, I guess. As a kid, I was very much into video games, like growing up all the way up until like 14, 15. I was very heavy into video games. And esports didn't really exist. We're talking like the year 2000, 2004, 2005. And so I knew like Team 3D. I knew Mama's Killers. I worked at a LAN center in New York, and occasionally those guys came around. I knew that like Mewtwo, King, and Ken existed in the world of Super Smash Brothers, but I wasn't a big esports head. I followed 1.6, if anything, and that's just because I thought Mama's Killers was a hilarious name. And then Team 3D was dope. But I didn't really follow esports. And then so 3 years ago, I got involved in Smite, and then like became involved at the larger level, you know. And when I started talking to people about esports, when I started talking to people about all of the world of esports, not just the gameplay, but the front office shit and all the white collar stuff, right? Jason Lake is one of the bigger names that comes up, and he's not completely from esports like G Pizzle said. People from traditional sports coming to esports bringing different perspectives that don't always have to be particularly bad. I think that there's definitely a situation. I think that, so like the reason people feel this way is that esports is different than traditional sports in the gameplay. There's a lot more of a culture of esports being like, you're my neighbor. Like if you're at the mall and some dude is wearing a baseball hat, you don't immediately assume that you're going to get along. That dude could just be wearing a baseball hat. Or at the other side of the coin, maybe that dude's a really big baseball fan and wants to talk about it really hard. But if you catch somebody at the mall wearing an Eager shirt, holy shit, let me talk to them about Zapman. And sure, maybe that's a tiny organization. But let's say, Fnatic. You catch somebody wearing a Fnatic backpack, you're going up there and you're being like, yo, that's what's up. You like Smite, you like League, you like Counter-Strike. Well, what are you into? You know? Right? There's you can already assume. And because of that sort of subculture feel, it's a little bit more insular. And the feeling of somebody coming from outside might not understand the community aspect of esports, or maybe they will just get it wrong, or they'll sell out, which is offensive to people for some reason. Again, going back to my punk rock days, I associated with that thought process when I was 12 and I didn't have a job. It's a different world. And so that's what it's all about to combine, right? Esports has this fantastic knowledge that it's actually really funny. If you follow the NBA, so Deer Haunter says it's one thing to come into esports from sports and have a different perspective. It's an entirely different thing to come into esports and tell everyone they're doing it wrong. Yes and no. Yes and no. That sounds really, so that's tough. So, and Vulpix, who says that they wouldn't come into esports if they thought we were doing it wrong, I disagree. So, first of all, I think it's unfair to assume that just because somebody's from sports, they're going to walk in like, yo, what's up? I know my shit. But at the same time, you have to respect the people that know what they're talking about. This is one of the most infuriating things to me when it comes down to this sort of topic. All right, esports. You guys have something cool here. You guys have organizations with millions of Twitter followers. There are some esports players that have more Twitter followers than those in the NBA. That's obscene. There are more esports there are some esports individuals that made more money last year than ex-football player. All right, that's probably far-fetched. But look at all the ways that esports are gaining natural. Oh, wow, I hurt my knee. Look at all these ways that esports are gaining natural fandom, natural publicity, just off of the game, because of, well, we don't understand your world of community and Twitter and all that stuff, right? That's the stuff that esports gets right. Esports gets the community thing. They get the social media thing. They get the in-game stuff. They get the friends. They get the word of mouth. That's the stuff that esports has on lock. But the stuff that traditional sports have on lock, as far as like league operations and stuff like that, there's always stuff that can be improved. Is it really their place to come from traditional sports and tell esports what to do? No, of course not. But in the idea of getting money, now we're looking at the sponsors outside of traditional sports: Coca-Cola, MasterCard, American Express, all these people that make money off of traditional sports that want to make more money, see a completely different audience in esports, and they want money from that too. But here's the thing. All right, esports, you got all this shit right. You're like 7 for 10. But you're missing these 3 things. You don't know how to like get yourself worldwide marketed outside of the internet. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe it's not. We don't know. Maybe it's dumb to put esports on Fox 5. That's wrong. But at least let's talk about it. Okay, right here, maybe we can offer pay-per-view events for esports. Maybe that's dumb. Maybe that's not a good idea. But MMA has made bazillions of dollars off of that shit. Maybe it's dumb. Maybe it's a different audience. But it should at least be discussed. When it comes down to player situations, particularly legalities between teams and players and contracts and leagues and organizations and contracts, yes, I want the expertise of somebody that's been running a league. Because you know what? The gameplay, the community, and all of that stuff, shit. We're old dudes that still check our AOL Instant Messenger. We don't understand how this future world works. The NBA does, and that's basically it. A lot of the other leagues are actually just trash. The MLB is an old white man sport, and it ain't no secret. Their, Twitter game? Forget golf. NFL? I mean, their target audience isn't really even that concerned about that sort of stuff. But the esports world is. And the sports world want to learn that. And at the same time, esports can learn all the other different things. There's a lot of different approaches to increase the revenue of esports, the footprint of esports. Esports have a lot of things going for them. The games are great. The communities are even greater. The people involved are real passionate folks that really want to do so. Right now, if you get involved in esports, it's kind of a gamble. I took a gamble trying to do esports. Thankfully, it worked out, sort of, almost. And now I've got a job, and that's dope. But I had a time frame. If I didn't get anywhere in a year, oh well, you're smoked. You can go to college and get yourself a sports journalism degree, get yourself a broadcast journalism degree, get yourself a journalism degree, and go ahead and get a job at whether old media like ESPN or Fox Sports or CSNB Sports or whatever the hell, or new media. Go right for BuzzFeed Sports. You guys make jokes. Lindsay Adler is one of my favorite writers. She came from BuzzFeed Sports. Go right for Vice Sports. Right? There are a number of different things. Old media, new media. Sports is get a degree and life won't be hunky-dory, but eventually you'll get a job and that'll be cool. Esports is dude, if it fails, you don't got a degree. You know what I mean? It's more of a gamble. So by creating the infrastructure, now all of a sudden more people have jobs. Now all of a sudden this world can move forward. I actually think infrastructure is important for esports. I think fragmentation is what hurts things the most. And by unifying things, whatever that means, whether it's leagues or otherwise, you're in a good spot. But esports is not in a good spot as far as people just I'm going to commit really hard to this because I want this to be my career. And the lack of people out there means a lack of content, means a lack of advertising platform, means a lack of legitimacy, means a lack of bigger picture. It's not about people coming in and I want to get rich. I mean, that's certainly a part of it. That's why you get involved, right? But there's also this idea of a greater future, very BioShock, right? But seriously, a little bit of this, a little bit of that goes a long way. Now, is WESA, as I said, they're very closely related to ESL. Is a world in which ESL is the only provider for Counter-Strike tournaments a good world? I don't know. I personally really like single leagues. I think that's a good look. I think that works out very well for traditional sports. And it works out well for the LCS. The LCS is still one of the bigger one of the bigger conversations in the larger conversation of esports, the LCS is one of the most popular. It's not a mistake. It's not because League of Legends is the greatest game on the market. Neighbors are yelling. They're pretty pissed about this too, I guess. Hey, how you feel about WESA? I think he said suck, and then I couldn't hear what he said after that. But I guess my neighbors, not big fans of WESA. But in general, I'm a little cautious because it's run by the same people that own ESL, and it's a little bit weird, but we'll see. Who's got questions? Why don't we just open the floor? Whether a specific question or you want to open more of a conversation. And if there's anything Smite you want to bring up, obviously I'm down to talk Smite. Thoughts on Overwatch as esports? I don't think that genre is my favorite type of esport to watch. I love watching Counter-Strike. Absolutely love watching Counter-Strike. It's methodical, it's slow, but at the same time, it's quick. You've got the impressive feat of Twitch killing somebody. Shouts to Hiko. But it's very strategic. Overwatch just seems there's a lot of stuff going on, which sounds lame, but it's totally true. I kind of get fatigued watching it, and respawn shooters aren't my favorite flat out. Overwatch is a lot more fun than it is fun to watch, but at the end of the day, I think Overwatch will generally do fine. Looking forward to cast Paladins next weekend. Yes, I had a lot of fun casting Paladins last week, and all jokes aside, it's really fun to cast a new game that changes 30 seconds before you're like able to go live with it. Because basically all I really had under my wing from Paladins was a little bit of what Vox taught me, honestly, mainly through VODs. Vox, by the way, is one of the Paladins World's casters. Very good at what he does, and I think that he's got a future in casting Paladins or otherwise. Keep a lookout for him. But just in general, it was really fun because I had burned cards, but I didn't know what they looked like because they changed the look. But I had the general idea of like, all right, you want to buy fucking Develop, you want to buy Blast Shield, and then maybe later on you buy Aggression. I knew about like Life Tap and Aggression and how they work together and stuff like that. So I know a little bit about the burn cards, but as far as everything else, it was a little bit rough. And I was able to see if I could, like what Golden Boy does for Smite, everybody trashes on him because he doesn't know Smite. But he does a very, very, very good job. The majority of people don't even realize that he doesn't know Smite. And he knows enough to get through the conversation. That's difficult. And to be able to present that with Paladins, I had a lot of fun. I took more notes watching that VOD than I have watching Smite VODs in the past couple of weeks. It was very fun. Can you link a website? Yeah, sure, Gamana. Go for it. What do I think the problem is with ALG currently? Seems to me kind of really struggling with positioning even after moving back to support. I want them to succeed so bad. ALG has a bunch of problems. I think that Incon was problematic in mid. Maybe with the change to support, it'll work out a little better. I have no idea what the hell went on this week. Something was fucky. I don't know, man. I'm very confused. I honestly don't know. Like, I honestly just don't know. And ALG might be an 8th place team. It's very unfortunate. I think they hit their stride in the middle of the season, and then other teams were able to keep succeeding and keep improving, and ALG hit a wall with the Mr. Mackey trade. And I think it's less to do with, is Mr. Mackey good enough? Is he better than Dare to Care? Blah, blah, blah. I think it's just the stop, right? Like, I don't know, that, you know what it is? You ever carry something along, like a long distance, and then you set it down for a second, and then when you go to pick it up, that shit's impossible to pick up? I think that's what was going on with the LG. They were like, just pushing so hard. I think they were just pushing so hard. And they go ahead and they go, all right, we got to reposition our hands. We'll drop. And we'll pick up. This time we got it with Mr. Mackey. Nah, dude. I think it has less to do with the individuals and just the fact that there was a change. Period. Think Hunger for More can make DreamHack? Yes. Yes. Which is crazy. I definitely didn't think that they would be able to make DreamHack a little bit earlier. Even a couple of weeks ago, I probably wouldn't say that. What do I think about an esports movie like Rocky or Rudy? Dude, I would love it. Rudy's one of my favorites. Rudy. I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I'm a sucker for movies like that. I'm a huge sucker. I'm always the one tearing up on the end play, right? I'm always the one tearing up during Remember the Titans and you give it like that stuff. I love that stuff. I read the hell out of Matt Christopher as a child. I'd be so down for an esports movie like that. Hell yeah. More changes to the Envious roster? Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right now the team is disjointed. I mean, there is not a lot of positives you can talk about when it comes to Envy. Individually, they're good players, but it's just not working out. I absolutely think that there will be a roster change. No idea what it will be or if they're even, like, there has to be, man. There has to be. So, Hunger for More DreamHack would be a lot of fun. I owe the entire team, except Variety. He has to be blocked. Fuck Variety. I will buy the entire team a beer. They can all drink, right? I'm pretty sure all of HFM can drink. At the very least, I gotta buy Ataraxia and Pretty Prime one. At the absolute very least. I mean, between Nate and Emil, Pretty Prime and Ataraxia, like, those are my guys. All right. So, Ataraxia, Pretty Prime, Captain Twig are all old enough to drink. I don't think Manalike is. How old is he? We don't have his age. I think he's like 18 or 19. Oh, we're in Europe. Yo, it's gonna be different. Yo. Yeah, I'll buy everybody a drink except for Variety. And honestly, I'll probably be in a good enough mood to buy Variety a drink. Because I started this season off calling them Hunger for Losses. My bad, Kikiro. I didn't have you on Ignore. I just didn't see you. My bad. Unless I do have you on Ignore somewhere else, but you're showing up in my Twitch chat. But for real, I started off the season calling these guys Hunger for Losses. I said that these guys like aren't good. They're just not working out. And honestly, they weren't, man. They just weren't. HFM they were looking bad. Ataraxia was the one positive for me. Captain Twig, I didn't really like coming into the season. I just don't like him in the jungle. Sorry. He's performing well. I still would prefer him in the mid lane. But then slowly, bit by bit, they got better and better and better, and Variety was a big part of that. And then Manalike gets swapped out for Zindern because that's Zindern. And then all of a sudden, this is the team. They're now even. They're 10-10. They're in 5th place. These guys can go to LAN. And I just had no faith in them in the beginning or even as the weeks went on. It took till week 4 or 5 for me to really... it was week 4 that I really bought in, I think. Up until that point, they were hungry for losses. So I think I owe them a little bit. If Hungry for More get there, I'm going to buy them all a drink. Matt Yankee, buy you a drink? Are you 21? If so, I'll buy you a Long Island just for fun. Alcoholic beverages are expensive in Sweden. Never mind. I'm not going to be able to afford that. Who do I think will make a DreamHack? Dignitas or CC? I do have better Twitch TV. I think Dignitas will. Honestly, if we take a look at the spring split standings, I need to stop saying take a look, by the way. If we take a glance at the European standings, right? Panthera are going. There's 2 other spots. Paradigm, I think, will likely go. I said it was Paradigm, Panthera, and Dignitas a number of weeks ago. I'm going to stick to that. I think that Dignitas is hotter, and they look so strong. SunTouch is on another level. And because of that, the team is on another level. I'm very excited. Word, Matt? Well, you probably make more than me by that time if you're at LAN, so you should buy me a drink, homie. Wink if my stance on Overwatch is because of Paladins? No, it's not. I think that game is fun, and I don't think it's great to watch. Why don't I like Variety? I like Variety. I just think it's stupid as hell that he has me blocked on Twitter. So fuck that. I've never ever had a problem with variety. Basically, everybody, the meme was that commentators hated variety for some reason. I was generally positive on him. I thought he was a bad player when he was a bad player, and then when he improved, I made sure to say he improved because that's my job. He blocked me. I think that's tiny boy status, and I don't really pay attention to that. But everybody else on HFM could get a drink. I'm down. Actually, like I said, probably not. 21's a stupid drinking age. I agree. I don't really drink too much, but I agree. Dude, the Suntouch buff invade is hilarious. I can thank Taco for the Suntouch superpower. I don't think so. I mean, I think Suntouch is a fantastic player in his own right. My main concern about Suntouch coming into the season was everybody was sitting here complaining about how he was a streamer. And it's so funny because recently in Counter-Strike, we just saw Summit get fucked up. But everybody was sitting here complaining about how he's a streamer. That wasn't my conversation at all. I thought Suntouch was going to be out of practice. He wasn't. Good for him. After the Gold Fury killed Trick's tank, will she be getting a nerf? Probably not, Edwin. That's a good question. Thoughts on Eager making it to DreamHack? My thoughts are yes. Looking at America, Soar, Enemy, Luminosity, Eager, Denial, all of these teams are liable to wind up at DreamHack. Realistically, I think it's going to be Soar, Enemy, and Eager. I think that these teams, I have their strength of schedule here. Denial plays Envy, which they can win. LG, which they just split with. Soar, which is hard. Allegiance, which is easy. Enemy, which is hard. Randozos, which is easy. And Eager, which is hard. So nice. Back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Eager has ALG, which is easy. Denial, which should be easier for them. The fuck is this? Oh, this is Soar. Soar plays Allegiance, which is easy. Denial, which should be easier than hard. Eager should be even. Envy should be easy. LG should be even. Eager has 3 even matches in a row, and then LG has a bunch of good matches, honestly. So, I mean, just looking at that, I think that Denial struggles because they have a harder schedule than Eager and Soar. And because of that, I think you see Soar, Enemy, and Eager there. I think Denial suffers a couple of losses that they don't want, especially this split that we just saw with Luminosity. And I think Luminosity I think Eager just winds up being too much of a freight train. I don't think drinking's dumb. Not always my thing. I don't know. I don't have a hard stance on intoxicants outside of like, don't be dumb with them. Be careful. Respect your intoxicants. I've known a lot of friends to fall victim to addiction, and that totally sucks. But as long as you respect your situation, whatever, man, do you? Be responsible. I don't really care. I don't drink too often. It's just not a thing. I will drink when I drink socially. I'm not like against drinking. I know Krett doesn't drink. Dan Brandon doesn't drink. I respect that very much so. I completely understand where they come from. I don't mind having a drink or 7. But in general, I'm not crazy. Who do I got internationally if I follow those scenes at all? China and Brazil. I generally don't follow China and Brazil. I used to a little bit more, but with the SCL being more involved with the console league, that's honestly taken up a little bit of like that brain spot has been occupied by SCL now for China and Brazil. I generally, a couple of weeks before tournament, I'll talk to some of my guys and I'll figure out the international side. Kevin takes a big lead when it comes to international esports. Adonis spends a lot of time in the office, and part of that time in the office is spent doing the international stuff, whether it's maintaining relationships with them, just talking to them, figuring out what's going on in the league, etc. So a couple of weeks before an event like DreamHack, I'll go ahead and I'll so I don't have to cram the week beforehand, like 3 weeks beforehand, I'll start to gradually get involved and gradually get interested, or not interested, but just informed. And then I know a couple of teams already. I know a couple of players already. So I'm able to just sort of like put in the pieces, figure out what's different from the last international event that we did. And then it all winds up being good by the time the three weeks over. So you're the best full picks, for real. Allegiance is easy. I mean, no shade intended, but if you're Soar, yes, that's an easy matchup. Allegiance versus Soar. Was it today the second time Denial dropped a win versus LG by throwing super hard? Yes. What was happening with Adonis' casting attire today? Super casual? I don't know. Everybody likes to dress a different way. As long as we're not showing up in t-shirts, pretty much, like it's all good. A polo would probably get a couple of looks as well. You know, it's business casual. I don't know. I like my gear, honestly. Like, I am aware that I dress on the sort of the far end of the spectrum. This is relatively casual in the world of like formal wear. This is like super casual, right? Like I'm wearing this with jeans and nobody like batted an eye. This is super casual. So, but I mean, as far as our broadcast is concerned, it's a shirt, jacket, and tie. Like this is buttoned up. So I don't know. We got different styles. I like to do the shirt, jacket, tie combo. That's my style. Kevin is more of just the shirt style. Works out. Everybody's got their own style. And like specifically, Toley asked me, he's like, oh, should I get like ties and stuff like that? And I was like, no. He's like, should I button up my shirt? I was like, no, that's the way you wear it. It's important to do you. I mean, one of the most, when you talk about basketball broadcasters, who comes to mind is one of the sideline reporters, Chris Sager. He just recently, he's fighting cancer, so thoughts go out to him. But, like, he's known for, like, ludicrous suits. And then, like, there's a couple of dudes in sports that are known for ridiculous suits, And that's, like, your own style is important. I never want to look like I'm wearing somebody else's style. I'm me. I think I fit this style. And I think that, I don't look super buttoned up when I'm rocking the super buttoned up stuff. Yo, thank you so much for the sub, love. What do we got going on? Connor94. Thank you for the support. So I don't know. Everybody's got their own style. I think it's important to really flex that. What matchup between North America and European teams do I want to see the most, excluding Panthera? That's an interesting exclusion. I want to see Eager versus Paradigm. That would be a classic matchup. A lot of the guys on Eager played against the guys on Paradigm once upon a time, going all the way back to like 3 years ago, launch tournament status, when that was TSM and Dignitas. Dignitas being Zapman and TSM being Lobster and Cuvo and Trix Tank. These guys have been playing Smite for a long time. I would love the storyline between an Eager Paradigm matchup. And then I want to see Dignitas. I would like to see a Dignitas team play against an enemy squad. I think that would be a very interesting matchup because of the way the supports work. Suntouch and Pain always looking to jump in. I'd be very curious to see that one. How close do you think it'll be between 3 or 4, like a game or two? Connor, you mean, first of all, welcome. And in North America, but a game or two? Yes, absolutely. I mean, even in Europe. So right now, if you look at Europe and you look at their standings at the moment, teams are separated by next to nothing. You've got, forget about Panthera. Second place is 11, then you've got 10, 10, 10, 10, and then 6. These guys aren't going. 1 through 5 are all potentially going to DreamHack. 10, 10, 10, 11. 4 spots separated by 1 game. This is incredibly close. This is tight. And then even on the side of North America, 14, 12, 11, 10, 7. These guys aren't going to land. The bottom 3, sure. But everybody 5 and up, this is the same conversation we just had. These games are separated by 4, not 2. That's a little different. But even still, I think Europe is very close. It'll be separated by a game or 2. North America, you're looking at 2 to 3 games most likely. So probably a little bit more wiggle room with respect to that. How do I feel about the cocky quote from Annister saying that they wouldn't lose any more games? I got a kick at the chat spamming that as they lost. I mean, I love statements like that. I love that sort of feeling. I always say, you got to think you're a top team. You got to be a top 3 team. Think you're a top 1 team. That's what you have to like. If you think you're a top 5 team, you'll be a top 10 team. If you think you're a top 3 team, you'll be a top 5 team. If you think you're the top team, you'll be top 3, potentially top 1. You have to think that you are the best, while cautiously understanding your weaknesses and the strengths of your opposition. But you have to think that there's potential for you to be number 1. If you don't think that there's any chance in hell you don't get number 1, then you won't. It's not some self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not some super hippie Burning Man shit. It's not, oh man, I just read The Secret, here we go. It's this idea of if you don't think you're going to be number one, you're just not going to make the right decisions. You're just not going to make the plays. So I like when a team comes out and says, we're the best in the league, of course. When I ask a player, how do you feel about your new hunter? I want them to be honest. I want them to say, oh, he's got a lot to work on his positioning, but we like the way he works out in team fights. And at the end of the day, I think this guy is going to be the best hunter in the world. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear that, oh, how are we going to do in our future games? We're going to win. We're going to be the shit. We're the best. We'll see you at land. Peace. That's what I want to hear out of a team. But at the same time, I don't know. The way that Andy said that, I think it's a lot different from saying our team's the best. We're going to go to land. We'll see you there. Ain't nobody going to beat us then. No problem. But the way that Andy said it, like, we are going to win every single game from this point forward, sounded very empirical. And, I mean, that was a little bit rough. Cocky quote? I don't really care. A lot of people say cocky, and I just think it's confidence, and I like confidence. I don't think it's a giant mist. I don't think it's something that Andy should be, like, destroyed for on a serious note. But, oh, yeah, dude, that's what you get. If you're going to say something like that, you're going to be chastised for it, and that's right. If they lose the last game of the season, ooh, that was rough. They lose the very next game they play. Andy, that sucks. That sucks. Oh, no. I don't think it's a serious talking point, but as far as, like, making fun of people is really lame. Making fun of public figures is lame. I'm a public figure. That's lame to make fun of me if you don't know me. That, like, who the hell are you? Get out of my face. But if I go up there, right? If I go up there and I say, Dignitas is absolutely going to land, and then they don't, well, that's what you get made fun of for. Like, that's what you get memed about. If I go up there and I say, you know what, Dignitas is the team that's going to split with Panthera, and then Panthera beats them by 20,000 gold twice in a row, yeah, I'm going to get made fun of, and I totally did, and you take that in stride. That's what it's about. Andy's got to hold this L real hard. I don't have a problem with Andy saying it. I think it's dope. I think I wouldn't have said it looking at the strength of schedule going ahead. Denial, they got to play sore as well, etc. I think that's rough. But I don't have a beef with Andy saying it in the first place. But if you lose the very next game, well, that's more than half the reason. North America, let's start with NA since they're on top. I mean, not being biased, they're actually literally on top of Europe on the screen that I'm looking at right now. For NA All-Stars, right? NA All-Stars. So we got to pick solo first. We go solo, then we go jungle. After that, we'll hit mid. Then we'll go support, and very, very, very well. I think his numbers are super high. Give me the standings from a week, as of this week, who would be on my all-star team. NA and EU on different teams. One member from a team only, so don't make Panthera my EU all-stars. Okay, I think North America, let's start with NA since they're on top. I mean, not being biased, they're actually literally on top of Europe on the screen that I'm looking at right now. For NA All-Stars, right? NA All-Stars. So we got to pick solo first. We go solo, then we go jungle. After that, we'll hit mid. Then we'll go support, and then we'll hit hunter. So for the solo lane, I think it's easy to say Baskin. I think you can leave Marauder at home. I think Luminosities, even with Scary D, sure, fine. Divios, okay. I think Divios is in the conversation. I think Baskin is in the conversation. And I think that Omega's in the conversation. I'd probably take Omega or Baskin. I think I leave Divios, and I either take Omega or Baskin. And the reason I leave Divios is because I want Zapman as a hunter. Easy peasy. I want Zapman as a hunter. Now, Envy versus Soar. I probably want somebody else on this team. So we're just going to go ahead and take Omega. I don't really know who else I would want from the world of Envy. So I think I take Omega in the solo lane. I think I take... you got Benji. You got Benji. Benji's in that conversation. That's very fair. Benji on Denial. That's very fair. I think I still take Omega, though. Omega's a solo laner? Omega's a solo laner. Even if he swapped, Omega's a solo For the jungle, I think you look at Homie Effie. I think you look at, I want to say DJ, but I know chat's going to laugh at me. I think you look at Mask. I think you look at Laz's. I think you look at Verizio. Honestly, I'm leaning towards Homie Effie. But I have a problem with that, and I'll tell you why. Because I want Jigs as my support. I really want Jigs as my support. If I look at the rest of the supports here, I get Pain to Beyond. All right, it might be Pain to Beyond so I can take Homie Effie in the jungle. It might be Pain to Beyond so I can take Homie Effie in the jungle. Oh, we have Anister. Duh. Yeah, I think I'd take Andy. Because, again, on Luminosity, I have Zapman, so I can't take Barracuda. Boosh might be my mid, though. Boosh might be my mid. So I want to put Andy. I'll put down Andy. I'll put down Andy. I'll put down Andy. But now I'm looking at mid laners. Who's Whirlwind, Chaos, Boosh, Best. All right, I think we're looking at, okay, let's close all these windows, right? Okay, close these, close all these. Okay. Whoops, closed too many. Right now I'm doing, somebody asked if I wanted to make an all-star team with all NA, no teams repeated. Okay. So I have Omega in the solo lane, so I can't pick anybody from Envy. I have Zapman in the Hunter role, so I can't pick anybody from Eager. So now I'm looking for mid lane. I'm thinking of Chaos. I'm thinking of Whirlwind. I'm thinking of... That's honestly it. Who does Lumi have? They have Boosh. These are the three people that I'm looking at. I'm looking at Boosh, I'm looking at Chaos, and I'm looking at Whirlwind. Whirlwind's got an interesting god pool, and I like how that works out. I really like Whirlwind's thought process. He's also a captain, which is worth noting. He is from Ohio, though. Boosh is my man. He's got good taste in watches. He has a strong mentality for the game. He's level 18 in real life. I think they call that age. And then my man Whirlwind. Yeah, he's a cool guy. Then my man Chaos. He's from Long Island, Rosslyn Heights. Shouts to this dude. He lives literally 5 minutes away from me. Like, he's even closer to me. Like, he's 5 minutes walking from my house in New York. My man Chaos lives like right next door. I have friends that teach at his high school. It's kind of funny. For the mid lane, I'm gonna go ahead and I think because when it comes to support, let's take a look at support. I think I pick Pain for support. Jig support, Pain support, Jeff support, Aurora support, Omega, Andy. I think I take for support either Jigs or Aurora. And that'll leave middle lane to be Chaos. I think it's Chaos. I think it's Chaos for sure. You think it dogs, Kate? So I think it's Chaos, honestly. So if I have to pick my North American non-team repeatable all-stars, I get Omega in the solo lane, Anister in the jungle, Chaos in the mid lane, either Jigs or Aurora in support. If you're going to make me pick, I'm going to say Jigs, and then Zapman on Hunter, because Aurora obviously plays on the same team as Zapman. So that's my NA all-stars. And then if we want to take it over to Europe, solo, jungle, mid, support, and Hunter. Are you sure I just can't write down this roster? I think for jungle, I think it's pretty easy with adapting. But then I can't go Raffer for support. So let's take a look at Paradigm. Zelia, Cringe Cruz, Axios, Dignitas has Dark Dodo, Hunger for More is Variety, Leftovers has... The fuck is this dude's name? Nika. I love you, Nika. Torpedo's got Moex now. Fnatic has Maniac. No. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, sweet. I go adapting in the jungle, easy peasy. I go Sun Touch as support. Relatively easy peasy. I go Hunter. Reels fucking X. Reels fucking X from Fnatic. That one's easy as hell. Mid lane, I can't go Yaman. Lobster. Cringe Crew is Kiro. Shadow Nightmare, I'm going to go ahead from... Oh, this one's easy. And then solo lane, who's left? We got Panthera picked. We got Dignitas picked. We got Dignitas picked. Shit, I can't have Sun Touch. We got Fnatic picked. I got to change mid or support. I think Sun Touch has been one of the best damn supports in the league. Emilzi's a god, sure. But Sun Touch has been able to be offensive and defensive. Sun Touch has just been out of his mind. Emilzi, honestly, even if I don't pick Sun Touch, even if I don't pick Sun Touch, I don't know if Emilzi's my number one. I think next to Sun Touch, I'm looking at Trix Tank. I don't have any from Paradigm on my team just yet. I think I'm looking at Trix Tank, honestly. I would rather Shadow Nightmare as my middle laner. Sun Touch is the problem here. Because I think Sun Touch is the best. I think Sun Touch has proven to be the best non-Panthera support in Europe. I don't want to say easy, but not hard. So, at the same time, Shadow Nightmare. A lot of you guys are saying pretty prime. Sure. I think Shadow Nightmare is a little bit more aggressive, and I like that. Sun Touch Xayah. I would not put Xayah as my solo laner. I would not, and I definitely wouldn't put Captain Twig as my jungler. There's no way that outshines. There's no way Yaman outshines any mid laner enough for adapting to be outshone by Captain Twig, without a doubt. Sun and Pretty Prime over Shadow Nightmare and Trix Tanks. I mean, it's just that Sun Touch has been able to make such a huge impact in these games. Support is a position that it's hard to make an impact. It's hard to carry. It's hard to put your team in a position to win if they're not going to put themselves in a position to win themselves. And I think Emilzi is pretty much the poster child for that. And Sun Touch has just gone a step beyond. And he's like, no, you know what? I am going to make that impact. I am going to do that. Is Dimmy's value under adaptings? You know, that's a good conversation, honestly. That's a better conversation. Because when it comes to solo lane, I'm looking at Dimmy. I'm not looking at Xayah. I'm not looking at Axios. I'm not looking at Variety. I'm not looking at these guys. Yeah, I think that's easy. I think we say Dimmy over in the solo lane. So that's our Panthera. That means our jungler is open. He can't be from Dignitas. Absolutely not. I wouldn't pick Frostiak anyway. Paradigm is Quavo Fred. Cringe Crew, they've got Reppy. Hungry for More is Twiggers. Leftovers has... Fails, right? It's jungler, excuse me. Wait, he's not the jungler. No, it's Cherio. All right. I take Cherio for jungle. Shadow Nightmare in mid. And then with that in mind, my support is going to be... Jeez, that's so rough. I mean, I could just put I could just put Trix Tank here. Right? Because I don't have anybody. I have Dimmy in solo. That's set in stone. I have Cherio in the jungle. That's pretty set in stone. I have Shadow Nightmare in middle lane. That's set in stone. And I have Reels for Hunter. That's set in stone. For the support role, he can't be Dignitas. He can't be Panthera. And he can't be, well, nobody cares about Fnatic, and nobody really cares about Leftovers. So, he has to be from, my support has to come from Paradigm, Cringe Crew, Hungry for More, Torpedo, and that's it. So, I support Raffer, right? Oh, wait, I have Dimmy. I'm lit. So, my support is Trix Tank. My support is Emilzi. I think I'd probably take Emilzi in this situation. I'd probably take Emilzi in this situation over Trix. I think I'd take Emilzi over Trix. I definitely take Sun Touch as my number one. Pretty much, Frezzy. Pretty much. Sun touch betting game winning the game. So I think what it comes down to, me too, Enrin. This is a lot of fun. Thank you so much, girl. It's a lot of fun. I feel you on that, Connor. I just think Shadow Nightmare is a dynamic player. He can just, the way he plays gods, he just plays them frontwards and backwards. He plays them offensive and defensive. It's very exciting. It's the way the best junglers in the world play Thor. And he plays that way with Giannis, with other characters. So Mystic says, Dimmy, Replica, Suntouch, Reels, Pretty Prime, maybe. It's tough. It's tough. Badger with Reels, sure. I never take synergy into account when I make these teams. But so for my European team, should I tweet this out? Should I tweet this out? I'll tweet this out. For my European team, no team repeats or anything. Solo lane is Dimmy. Jungle is Cherio. Mid lane is Shadow Nightmare. Support is Emilzy. And Hunter is Reels X. Dude, I gotta take Sun Touch. That's my problem, man. But I gotta take Shadow Nightmare. If I put Sun Touch in support, this all-star team would lose to Panthera? I don't think so. Even if Dimmy had to mirror himself, I think it's even in a game of two. If I take Sun Touch and I take Pretty Prime, right? Oh man, I can't. I can't. Man, I can't deal. I'm going to go ahead and tweet this one out, shall we? All right. Can't decide. Solo, Dimmy, Jungle, Cherio, Mid, Shadow Nightmare, Support, Emilzy. Would Dimmy solo Dimmy? Probably. And then Hunter, Reels X. Versus Solo, Dimmy, Jungle, Cherio, mid lane, Pretty Prime. What is it? Support, Sun Touch, Hunter, Reels X. I can't decide. Can't decide. Oh, wait. No. I want to make this a poll. That's what I want to do. Can you make a poll like that? Will that work? I don't even know. I don't even know if that'll work. Ooh, we're discovering the depths of Twitter, guys. Let's see if it'll work. Can I add a poll? Yeah. Team 1. Team 2. There we go. No! No! That sucks. That sucks. Huh. Here we go. We can do this, and then we can do Pretty P, right? And then we can do sun. We'll just write the word sun. Sun T. And then we'll delete some of the... Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's the wrong button. All right. I think we got it. Did we? We'll just write Reels. Fuck Reels X. Yeah, look at that. Yeah. Sunt. Here's what we do. We just delete. See, this is advanced Twittering. Twitter actually just released a memo, or whatever the fuck Twitter releases, a tweet, saying that if you go ahead and you link things, as well as putting pictures or images into your tweet, that it actually won't count against the character limit, which is a very big deal if you're like me or Smite Pro, who are constantly tweeting out links and images, and it's always a pain in the booty when you're sitting there trying to show whatever it is you're trying to show, and you're limited on words because of the situation as far as the 140 characters are concerned. Shadow Nightmare, is it really that? Yeah, Pretty Prime. Yeah, okay, fine. Let's tweet. Yeah, Cherio, I fixed it. Cherio, okay. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. I think we got it out. Real X greater than Real X to the first one. Ah, you guys are too fast. All right, the tweet's up. The tweet's up now. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Copy link to tweet. Here you go. Here you go. You guys can vote on it now. And rules. You couldn't have more than one player per team on a team. Hashtag SP. Rules. You couldn't have more than one person from a team on a team. Hashtag SP. I almost hit escape again. That would have sucked. But I didn't. So we're good. I wonder how you guys are going to respond. When are you ever interactive, Volpix? So let's see how this one's going. I'm very curious. Like I said, I like the Shadow Nightmare team, man, but I like the Sun Touch. In fact, I will tweet about that. I'm still mad I can't have Sun Touch and Shadow Nightmare. What is it? They're Dignitas, Dig Shadow on the same team. BS rule, nonsense rules. So where are you guys at? Let's view the poll. Save it for lunch, I say. Save it for lunch. The poll says a lot of people want the Sun Touch. A lot of people like the Sun Touch. I'm a fan of the Sun Touch as well. Sun Touch is very inconsistent. Shadow provides more team play. I understand that. This is the main problem that I had. Everybody else I'm down with, but I want the Sunny and I want the Shadow. I want Sun and Shadow on the same team. But I get it. I get it. No players for the second seeded Paradigm? Not really, honestly. Those guys succeed because of how well they work together in their unit, which is funny enough. I don't know. I think they're great within themselves, but outside is rough. Sun Touch and Shadow, not like this. Man, I think they've both been incredible assets to their team. Like, incredible. So, I don't know. Also, shouts real quick to this Meerkat tweet. This Meerkat tweet's hilarious. Hey guys, think I can buy Sunder and use it in base and then sell it? From Walrus. No, everyone else. Guys, we need to remake. From Walrus. This is the most Walrus thing I have ever seen in my life. Yo, he just got Walrus? That's hilarious. Walrus is a pretty funny guy. I like Walrus. Walrus is a fun dude. 10 points. Trick Tank is the only person I would consider from Paradigm. But I think Sun Touch destroys him this year. From Paradigm, I would consider Lobster and Funball. And Cubo Fred. I think those three are very, very strong. Zelia and Trix Tank are probably strongest in their vacuum that is Paradigm. But I think that what you're able to get out of Lobster is very high tier material. And obviously what you're able to get out of Funball is very, very good. But Reels is just... The situation with Reels actually pisses me off, to be honest with you. He is one of the best hunters in the league, Europe and North America, and he's just stuck on a bad team. And that's gotta feel bad, man. Europe. Deaths. Here's Reels. This isn't even the top half of the league. This is the top quarter of the league. He's got the lowest deaths. He's got 35 deaths. Not the lowest, but you know what I'm saying. Shaggy Shank is above him. And that's it. He is number 2 out of 8 for European hunters. Ducky doesn't count. Crunchy doesn't count. Zashu doesn't count. Deathians doesn't count. Okay? Demi, he counts. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Reels has the 5th least deaths in Europe. Let's go to kills, he's probably not up there. Huh. Oh, excuse fucking me. He is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Top 10 in European kills. 1, 2, 3. Top 3 in hunter kills. How does that expand when we come here to the big league? Amelito, Zapman, Met Yankee, Shaggy Shank. All right, North American hunters, calm down. So you're still top 5 in the world. Top 5 of all hunters in kills. Honestly, I want to see player damage dealt, but that's not here. We actually have a really interesting stat. Player damage dealt by basic attacks. And Reels is very high up on there as well. KDA, Reels is about average. Scratch that. He's on the better side of things. I forgot this was the whole league. Keep in mind, players like Ducky just don't count. Players like Mace to the Face just don't count. Yeah. And like Fittipide says, he's on the worst team in the league. They have only won 5 games, and Reels is able to be top 5 in kills for his position. That's ridiculous. I don't think we have percentage of abilities in basic attacks hit or miss. But that's ridiculous. Like this actually makes me mad. And it's funny because yes, Reels and I are actually really like we're really good friends. I really like Marcus, but take that out, stop that conversation. Just as a player. Like that pisses me off to see some dude stuck on a team or not work for like it's just upsetting to me as like a fan of the game or the idea of a game that one of the best players of the game is unable to showcase his true talent because he's on a team that loses 1 out of 3 times they go out there. Reels announced. Yeah, Volpix. After I'm done bitching and complaining, put some questions in the chat for me to answer to get me off this Reels train. I got about 10 minutes left. And we'll rock out questions till the end. Reels is out. Reels is on vacation. Homie went to the Dominican Republic. He had this planned for a long time. I've heard from a number of reputable sources, and I 100% believe that. I think that Reels had this Dominican Republic trip planned for a year plus. But with that said, if these games over the next 2 weeks were going to take Fnatic to land, Reels would not go. There's no way in hell. He's a competitor. He doesn't like to lose. He likes to win. He's global elite in Counter-Strike. From casual play. This guy's a beast. Go on vacation. You've earned it. You're the only one carrying your team through the sand. Real funny, actually. Something I really want to point out. Reels, right? So he's out there. Fnatic Reels. He's out there. Fnatic Reels. He's out there, Fnatic Reels X. He's out there. He's playing on his SPL game. He's doing what he can, right? Kevin goes ahead and tweets, hey, remember when I wrote this article about Reels and how he should always be on a hyper carry? Look who retweeted it. It's your boy. Kevin also tweeted one of my favorite stats that we've ever seen in the SPL. Fnatic Reels has not won a competitive game on Neath for over a year and a half. Fnatic are 0-7 with Reels on a character named Neath. Meanwhile, you put him on a hyper carry, and look at this. Look at the kill distribution. This is the important part of this. Look at the kill distribution. The SPL average, jungle winds up with the majority of kills on the team. But then mid and solos pick their nose up a lot. Support doesn't do much. So that's what the orange is. The orange, I know it's kind of weird color because Fnatic is orange. Orange is what most of the teams do in the SPL. Jungle, a little bit more so than the other characters. And then along comes Fnatic. Boom! 29.5% of the kills that Fnatic get are on Reels. That's 7 percentile points higher. That's a big disparity. That's a huge disparity. That's the kind of disparity that you take note of One of the biggest things that I've mentioned this season with respect to how teams have been successful has been identifying the identity of your team. Randozzo's realized it was early game. They started playing towards that. Hungers for More realized it's a mid-jungle thing. They started working with that. Bring variety into it, then it's even more so. Right? They understand what's going on. Fnatic have not done that. It's not like Reals can play only one god. This is God Pool. Rom. Tougher. Freya doesn't exist anymore. Anhur. Apollo. Xbalanque. We've seen one Ho Yi. He can play whatever he wants. Yeesh. Ooh, biggest problem Fnatic has made. Not their role swaps. Their inability to identify Reals as their hypercarry. And that's a problem. Like Ronaldo for Portugal? If you're talking about Reals, yeah, sure. I don't know if Portugal's good or bad, but if Portugal is bad, then yes, very much like Ronaldo on Portugal. If Reals would be on Panthera instead of Emilito, he'd have Insane House? Yeah, of course. You put this guy in a position to win? Sure. Ducky top 3 KDA. Who do I got? OKC versus Golden State Warriors? Golden State Warriors. Easily. I had Spurs over OKC, so take that as you will. The more popular team won the poll. Oh yeah, let's go check in. Let's go check in on the squad, shall we? Let's go check in on how this one worked out. Yep, Sun Touch. That's what I expected. I'm still completely split. Like I'm still unable to decide which team I want more. I think Sun Touch is the best support in Europe at the moment. Raffer, sure. The best non-Panthera support, I'll say. And I think Shadow Nightmare is the best non-Panthera mid laner. I really do. Which is hilarious because I don't think this puts Dignitas as a number one team. Number 2 or number 3, sure. But again, that's why we say non-Panthera, right? These guys are too good for me to select, honestly. Sun Touch is just unfuckable. It's cheesy. It's cheeky. It's not meta. It's not good. Well, it's winning, bro. I don't care if it's cheesy. It's winning. I don't care if it's nonsense, it's winning. I don't care if it's easily combated, because it hasn't been. It's winning. Vulpix. Out of the new players this season, who do I think has more standing power? Who will we see a lot of from now on? I think you mean staying power. And if you do, I think that Oceans has some staying power for sure. I think that Oceans is a good team. Or a good player that will wind up going ahead and having a future in the league. As far as other players, this is obviously the roster I go directly to. Panda Cat's got the staying power. Verzil and Marauder, I'm a little bit more concerned about. I don't know how they work on rosters that aren't this. But I think Panda Cat has that extra something that really allows a player to be incredible. Also, shout outs to the name Maxim Yanovic. I don't know. Wait a second. How is he living in the Ukraine? Wait a second. Now, it's actually really funny. Because if you look at Panda Cat, you can totally see it. Damn it, Panda Cat. Why do you guys... Oh, my goodness. Panda Cat... Totally a 16-year-old Ukrainian. Side note, Anatoly's Ukrainian. I think Panda Cat's got the staying power for sure. Marauder. I think Panda Cat is definitely a guy that I'm talking about the most, honestly, Enrin. I think he continues to play. I think Oceans has a shot. It's up to how he decides to go in the future with the squad. I think the other two players on Enemy, a little bit less likely. But I think they certainly have the potential. I just see more out of Panda Cat. Yeah, I like that to me is the entirety of Fnatic's season. It is just how they don't identify that Reals is the guy. They just haven't identified it, and it's rough, as a dog would say. What are ELO points going to give us in the future? I have no idea. There are a couple of things that people are talking about, largely cosmetic shit, but it should be fun. That was a really good article. I really enjoyed that article. Kevin wants to get back to it, but he's got so much stuff going on as a head commentator. It's hard for him to do that sort of thing. And like, I don't know. It's weird. The stats aren't ready just yet. We have to like really haphazardly find our stats at the moment, but that should be fixed relatively soon. Again, Kevin Adonis working hard on that as well. You don't think Reels would mesh well with Raffer? I absolutely think so. I think Reels and Raffer would get along just fine. What support would go along with Reels? Anyone. Reels is very easy to work with. Reels is not a hard guy to get along with. Shadow Nightmare is insane. He's just so damn good. The fact that we have to say non-Pantheras. Sith Candy, thank you so much for the resub. Hell yeah. Thanks. Could Hi-Res give limited skins in exchange for ELO points? I don't know. There's a lot of conversation. Nah, I feel you, Enrin. Apparently people get pissy when you call Guardian instead of support. Don't give a fuck. That's the technical term. I don't use it all the time, but I will sometimes. And I really don't care. Panic has exactly Prestige. So that's what I'm saying. See, Prestige is one of these dudes that sits up there in the rafters. You ever go? I don't know if you guys have gone to a lot of like sporting events. But basically, what happens is you get up in the nosebleed seats, and there are the dudes that are just there because the nosebleed tickets are dirt cheap, and they want to get drunk and rowdy and scream about their team. And then you get an old dude. You just get this old dude that sits off to the side. He drinks his beer and he cheers when he needs to cheer. But he's been there forever. He's seen every game. He's missed the ones that he had to miss because he had to work or fighting a war. But he's seen every game possible. And he's just been sitting in that seat. That's what Prestige is. Prestige has been sitting, watching Pro Smite, SPL, Challenger Cup, otherwise forever. And he gets it. He gets it when I say I've been seeing Panda Cat do it on the challenger level for Legion of Carrots. He gets it. He's seen it. Panda Cat's a dude that has played a lot, and he's finally getting his opportunity to play in the big leagues. And I'm so hyped about it. I think that Panda Cat will be something special. For real. For real. Oh, well. That's going to be it. I'm out. It's 10 p.m. I'll probably stream a little bit later, but I do want to relax a little bit, eat. I obviously came right from work. I walked in, got myself a non-brand name beverage from the fridge, and I sat down and hit go. So you fact checked me once about the most minor detail. Sounds about right, Smith. That sounds about right. Prestige, you are. It's 5 a.m. Well, excellent. It's 10 p.m. for me. 4 a.m. all across the globe. I love to see you guys hanging out. Like I said, Mondays, every night at 8, we'll be doing really. Hopefully, most of the time, it will be with Krett. When it's not, I'll still show up and we'll still talk SPL. Yesterday's first period, it doesn't exist. I technically showed up. We technically made it go on, but it was not at the level of the content that I wish to put out, so I just deleted the VOD and I didn't upload it to YouTube. Sorry about that. This will go out, and I will upload this to YouTube. I'll put this on the really playlist, but kind of technically this is sort of first period, so I appreciate it. Thanks for showing up. Everybody that's in chat, you guys have been an absolute pleasure. Subs and non-subs, everybody combined. It's been awesome having a conversation with y'all, because that's exactly what this is about. Have a wonderful night. Maybe show up and watch me play Smite a little bit later. Maybe. Yeah. Either way, peace out, folks, and much love to you.